Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest episode of the Skin Wellness Pro Show, the official podcast of the Nutritional Aesthetics Alliance. I'm Rachel Pontillo, president and co founder of the Nutritional Aesthetics Alliance, and I am here with my co host, Tara Swagger, our education specialist. Hey, Tara, how are you?
Hi, good to be here. Very excited about this conversation today.
Yes, we have a special guest today, and I am so excited about this guest because this is somebody who not only have I had the pleasure to teach, not only in the certified nutritional aesthetics practitioner training program, but also in my Create Your Skincare Pro online course. And she's someone who showed up, did the work, finished, got the pieces of paper, and she's put it into practice. That's always so fulfilling to see. But even before that, I was a fan of her because Lori Ward, who is our special guest today, she just kills it on social media. And she does it in a way that is just so engaging and welcoming and educational. But and that's we're going to talk about social media today, and we're going to talk about content. But I want to give a little introduction to Lori, and then we will say hi to her. So Lori Ward is an esthetician of 8 years. She's an acne specialist, integrative health practitioner, epigenetic hair testing consultant, and she helps clients detox, address gut health, and balance hormones. And then, as I mentioned, she is a graduate of the CNAP training program as well as Create Your Skincare Pro. And on the personal side, she's been married 30 years, is a mama of four with six grandbabies. Oh my goodness. And maintaining a healthy lifestyle and lifting weights is her hobby. And her joy and passion is helping people clear their skin without Accutane, antibiotics, or birth control. Can we get an
Yay.
amen
Yes.
up in here?
Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Love that.
Oh my goodness.
Love that.
Our
Of course
last
we love that.
episode was about acne, and we've already gotten so much buzz about that. So such
Ooh.
such a hot topic, something that affects everyone. And it's something that you have chosen to focus on. But first of all, hi Lori, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. This is so much fun. Thanks for the invite.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy to have you on the show. And, you know, here at the Skin Wellness Pro Show, as I mentioned before we hit record, we really like to keep it real and we like to have conversations that are relevant for practitioners out there who are trying to figure all this out. And I think that now we are in such a strange place in business because, you know, those of us who had brick and mortar businesses, we did our thing. And then we were told, okay, we have to be online. So then we did that. And then COVID came and they said, no, you can't work in person anymore. So now you have to do everything online. So they did, and we shifted, right? And now we're in this weird place where, okay, we can work hands on, we can see people in person, but we opened this online can of worms, and now what do we do with that? So social media has become a very interesting place. And your primary platform is Instagram. Is that correct, Lori?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you've been doing that, you know, before COVID, but I would love to hear
Yes.
just a little bit about your perspective on Instagram right now, social media, and kind of how you have built your platform and kind of what made you do that. What called you
Mm,
to educate in this way?
mm. Those are great questions. Lots of layers to that. So, when I started my business, I knew that I had to use social media to get the word out. And I started my business in my home, and I was kind of new to Instagram. And I just thought, if I'm going to reach more people, I've got to use social media. And before I started getting comfortable on Instagram, uh, my, my kids, like, they were on it before I was. you know, they were much more better at it than I was. And when I first started, I kept re-recording, like delete, record, delete, because I didn't like the way that I looked. I didn't like the way that my voice sounded. I just was so critical of myself. And I remember crying to my daughter at the time. I think she was like maybe 17, 18. I remember crying and just saying, I can't do this. It's not easy for me. And she said, Mom, just keep going, just keep trying, and you will get better. And I thought, okay, this means that I've just got to get on it every day, like once a day, just try to get on and share something. And I like to teach. I like to share. Like if I found something like a really great lip gloss or something, I want to share it and I'll talk about it. I thought, well, I can do that about skin. And I was a new esthetician. So everything was fun, everything was new. I was on social media a lot, and it did get easier. It got better. I got more comfortable at it. And Instagram has really evolved and changed over time, because in the past it was Facebook and I believe Instagram, and all of a sudden here comes TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I cannot do one more social media thing. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. And we're told to get your presence out on every social media platform. Get it out on TikTok and whatever there are now. Like I don't know how many more social media
So
outlets there.
many. I don't even know.
And there's only going to be more.
Yeah.
And I saw where everybody was headed a couple years ago. Like everybody kind of moved over to TikTok. And I just thought, I don't want to do one more thing. I'm stressed, and I can see the benefits of, like, I've got friends who moved over and added TikTok to their platform, and they've grown, and their platforms are great and big. And I just have to remind myself, it's okay. It's okay if you don't do everything, because at the end of the day, we've got to keep our sanity, and we have to have some balance. Because I was on social media a lot. I was doing a lot of stories. I was doing a lot of sharing, showing a lot of treatments and everything. I was also showing my kids as well. And then my kids got older and decided they didn't want to be on my social media anymore. And I had to come to terms with that too, because they didn't ask to be a part of it, right?
Right.
And that could be a conversation for another day. But and so I've had to pivot and adjust and pivot again, because over time my message has changed. Like it was like strictly treatments and products, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then I enter the world of gut health. I enter the world of Rachel Pontillo. I enter the world of formulations and detoxing and blood sugar and hormones. And I just thought, how am I going to talk about all this stuff? There's so much to share. And that was a really big pivot for me around 2020, 2021. Big pivot for me to add more of the health. And I lost people in that shuffle, but I also gained more people. And it's funny because my Instagram, it's probably 80% estheticians.
I was going to bring that up. Like, did you do that? I don't think you did that on purpose, did you? I mean, it's amazing, because whenever I talk to estheticians or even our students, like they know you. So
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
it's impressive. But let's be real. They're not buying from me.
Yes, there is that piece of it. So what do you do with that?
So you can get really discouraged.
Yeah.
You can get really discouraged. And I did. I did for a while. I've actually been in a funk for a couple years because
This is you in a
um,
funk?
what's that?
This is you in a funk?
This is me in a funk.
Okay, wow. I would love to see Lori not in a funk because whenever
Well,
I've had any conversations with you, you're always delightful. So,
well, I should say me right now talking to each other, not in a funk because I'm like I've got a clear mind right now. But the past couple years have just been really interesting and like let's just be real. My Instagram stopped growing at 29.9 thousand people
whoa.
in 2020. See, it's traumatic. I remember the dates. it, and I'm glad that we're talking about this. Um, we stopped, and I remember looking at my numbers 29.9. And then over the last 3 years, it's just gone down, down, down. So when you look at my account, it's like 26 point something thousand.
Hmm.
And let's talk about what that does to your head.
Well, yeah.
And because it just I it was all about the numbers, my self-worth. And I'm really glad that we're addressing this because
Yeah.
I know that I'm not the only one that associates the numbers on their social media to their value. It's just the same as someone stepping on the scale every single day and putting their self-worth in that number. And I used to do that. Years ago, I used to put my self-worth, if I was going to have a good day, if the number said a specific number. And I had an epiphany. I realized I was doing that with my social media. And a
Wow.
lot of us are doing that unconsciously. You know, like if we see that we've lost followers, oh no, what have I done wrong? And we take it personally. But it has nothing to do with your value or your message or your worth. It just means that those people, it's not serving them and they're on to something else. And that's okay too. And so it's just funny that you asked me to talk about this because I was talking about it with my daughter and she's like, oh, mom, are you going to tell them how you really feel?
That's what
Because
we want. We want to hear it.
okay,
Yeah.
because to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
social media is a love-hate relationship. I love the
Mhm.
people who I have met and formed like real relationships with, like in my DMs and friends. Like I've made so many friends. And the hate part is the comparison, the value that you place on your worth. If your reels or your stories aren't seen by anybody, that will really mess up your head. Like when you create something or even do a story on Instagram and you've got 26,000 followers, but only 100 see it.
Wow.
That gets in your head and that can stop you, that, that like suppresses your energy and you can't get on social media with low vibes because people feel it.
That's
And for
very
a
true.
long time, I was getting on with low vibes. And I had a friend who's an energy worker. she messaged me and said, Lori, your vibes are off. What's up? You know, so people do notice. And so what I've done is I've just done a lot of self-work and realized that my value is not in the numbers, it's in the people that need my message, like those who really do, those who will every now and then pop in my DMs and just say, thank you so much. Your content has helped me. It's changed my life. And that's why I keep showing up, even though my numbers are not growing. That's what keeps me showing up, is knowing that there is someone out there who needs to hear this. And that's kind of how I gauge my content, is knowing that this is important. This can change someone's life. And that is why I take my content really seriously, and I make sure, just like you, I make sure that it's truthful, it's reliable, it's honest, and it's not just hearsay. It's backed up. I've proven it with clients. I know it works. And then I'm also able to spot, and I'm sure we'll talk about this, I'm able to spot messages on social media that are not true, that are coming from other estheticians. And I'm like, whoa, that's not good, you know? And so I don't know, we can talk about whatever you want from here, but I've learned so much, the good and the ugly, and just focus on the good and who your message is meant for and why you are on Instagram, why you are on social media. That's what you have to figure out, because everyone that's listening to this, they've already created their social media. Like they've got their Instagram, they're on TikTok, Snapchat, wherever. They've already got it going, but we just have to really remember who's it for and what are we trying to do. We educate. We also need to sell something so that we can keep our business running,
Sure.
so we can pay our bills. You know, it does come down to that, you know, but I've just learned a lot. And I didn't want to sound bitter today. I wanted to bring good energy and just let people know that so many of us are we just show up with our best energy, and you don't always know what's going on in the background. They may have 100,000 followers, 300,000 followers, and they're only showing you the highlights because everything else could be a mess. So you got to be careful what you see on social media. It's not always true. And usually it's not, right?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being so open and sharing that. Tara, I want to give you the opportunity to jump into the conversation because I know that, you're on social media as well, and you've started doing a bit more interaction on social media with the different events that you do, and you've got a few different, channels that you're putting content out into. And, what do you
Yeah.
what do you want to
Yeah.
share about your experience?
I
What do you want to tell the
I
story about?
so appreciate that you just dished it all out, because I don't it doesn't social media doesn't quite resonate with me. But I know it has a value. So I work at putting stuff out there. And I think the interesting piece about what you talked about is the psychology of the social media situation. You know, you're a successful woman, and you're older, you're not like a teenager. And so you would be more, I personally see you as more of a confident person. You look at all these young people and how they're getting swallowed up by the exact story you just gave. But when you're older, in our age group, we have a little bit more of a maturity to step back. Even though there's still a struggle, we can step back and like reassess and like rebalance ourselves. And this is such an interesting thing, because my son has he has a YouTube channel, and he does Lego animation. And I spend a lot of time trying to distract him from things that don't matter, like how many people are following his channel, right? But he's a kid. So, you want them to be able to be out there like everyone else. But yeah, what an incredible thing to share, because I also think that in our businesses, established people, we're all the 2020 came. I remember I was like making videos, and I was in my camper because my kids were younger, and I was like, oh, I can set up in my camper, and then it's quiet, nobody bothers me. And I felt like a ding dong. I was like, I'm holding up products, and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this, but people are they're on the Instagram, and I got to get on there, right? And the truth is, I can say that for me, it's still, I don't mind putting a little bit out there. I don't mind sharing my stuff, because I think, in the moment, but that if it doesn't resonate, okay. It's okay if 1,000 followers and you lose people. It's okay that the mess that you're sitting out is going to get to who needs it, and the rest of the people might fall away. I had a conversation with some other professionals in our industry, and often see these people selling a bunch of stuff, and they're in the hot tub in Puerto Rico, and they're like estheticians and beauty people, and you look at it and you're like, what are these people doing? How are they like on vacation all the time, and how do they have all this like this crazy amazing like social media, and they look exotic, and then it's sell, and people want what they're selling. And most of the stuff on the market, in my opinion, I don't, everybody's trying to jump to the next exciting thing or that best product. It's like the world is seeking just to be in the beginning or on the new thing. And so they'll run away from anything that they've been watching to the next thing, to the next thing. And so I think this is such a cool message about like all of that can be very fleeting. So, you know, being genuine to yourself and like being able to look deeper and say, it's okay that I lost those followers. Maybe they're not resonating with me anymore. And your comment about your friend who does energy therapy, like I understand that because I do energy therapy too. Like it's got to be in the right frequency, right? To be a healthy pattern. Not that we don't fall into unhealthy patterns, we can figure it out, but this is such an incredible topic, because I also feel like in my business, or what I seem to see, is the market is so saturated in social media. I mean, it's just someone talks about doom scrolling, and I'm like, doom scrolling, what is that? I feel like I'm 100, but I'm like, doom scrolling. Then and I'm like, oh yeah, I doom scroll, right? I'm blah, blah, blah. And so you pass over so many things. What is going to grab your attention? And like, how hard do you need to work to grab someone's attention? And should you work that hard? Right? Like, should you work that hard to stand out in a doom scroll? I don't know that you really should, right? Without being you. And so it's so interesting. And then, you know, when you came on and you were like, I'm excited about being here for this, like, because this is like intimate conversation, right? Like between people. And I think I've been feeling this recently too. You know, I've done some pivoting very specifically because of the fact that I think the world is becoming internet numb, but people are sort of craving this right here, this conversation. They're craving in-person stuff. And so, because I think they're just so sick of staring at screens in a way, right? I mean, we do it, but then we want something that has more meaning. So I think this is great. I really appreciate the like super honesty, because I think plenty of business people in this industry need to hear that from someone who has 30,000 followers. I don't have 30,000 followers. Like that is like beyond incredible, right? That you do. And so, and to hear that you have 30,000 followers and you lose a few thousand and you're up and you're struggling with that. And like, that's a really honest way to explain, you know, the psychology of all of this. And, I don't even notice if I've lost followers. I guess I'm just doing my best to get stuff on there because I'm supposed to.
Yeah. You know, Tara, that is so healing for me to hear. And that's what we all are craving right now. And I think that that is
Totally.
why podcasts are just exploding, because we crave to hear long format
Mhm.
so that we can really hear what this person is about.
Yes.
And I also want to say, and you brought up age, or we're more mature. I
Mhm.
turned 50 November of last year, so I'm newly 50, and I have taken really good care of myself. I go to the gym, I eat all the healthy things, I do everything I'm supposed to, but I cannot compete with an algorithm that favors youth. I
Mhm.
cannot compete with a 20-year-old who has just gotten out of aesthetic school and is just gorgeous, all the things that the algorithm loves and favors. I can't compete with that. And Another thing that we have to be careful of is if we base our social media content on beauty. I mean, if you do, that's amazing. But if we only focus on our looks, looks are going to come and go. It really will. You can hang on to it, and you can definitely use great skincare. Like us girls, we know what to do. But if we only base it off of our looks, it's not going to last very long. It has to be something deeper. It has to be something that people can take and use and be inspired by. Yeah, it's just, that's the frustrating part, is realizing that you can't compete with that. And that is okay. You
Mhm.
made another comment that I thought was really good. Of course, now I can't remember it, but something to the effect of experience and wisdom, doom scrolling. So good. About 8 months ago, I was so fed up with social media that I decided I was done scrolling. I was done comparing myself to other estheticians.
Mhm.
I Now, when I get on Instagram, I only get on to share a story or make a post or answer messages, and I am off. I get in, I get out. Has that helped my algorithm? No, because Instagram wants you to be on. They want you to be leaving comments and messages and looking at other people's pictures. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. Like you said, I came to the realization that I had given and done everything that I possibly could, and it's not enough. And I just said, all right, I'm not going to sing and dance for you guys. I'm not going to do back bends. I'm not going to, I'm not going to, how much energy do I have to give to this to make it grow? And I just said, we're done. We're done. And if I lose people, oh, well, I guess they're cleared from acne and they don't need any more
There
help.
you go.
They're cured. But yeah, it's just, and it's the wisdom of being older and a little bit more mature, I would say, and realizing that it's going to be okay, even if you aren't rocking it like you want to on Instagram. Just stick to your message, helping people. That's
Well,
my
Lori,
message.
do you also think that, I mean, now that you've had all this experience and you kind of you got all of these type, followers, and you kind of got entrenched. I mean, without sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of discussion about when you talk about the algorithm and you talk about how this system is not working in its natural state, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that probably there's a lot of people out there that don't quite understand that. So they've got a lot of value in, things not coming, getting better organically. And to some degree, how much of this is on purpose too, right? By the systems that are put in place, because I think that's really important message that people might want to hear, is that the system is not meant for it to happen naturally. It's controlled, it's pushed. And so then it traps your mind, right? Like have already said, like, then you get pulled in and then sort of occupied mentally by an algorithm, by something that's not even real. And so that is, and I think, in my opinion, why I mean, I kind of tried to go on TikTok for a minute, but then I was like, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't think it's my people anyway, and that's fine. But it seems like the younger generation are deeply, deeply entrenched in sort of all of their value being sort of outsourced to what's happening in all these places. And I remember one time someone said to me about the fact that we have access to all this information now, is that we were never meant to know about everything all over the world. And the stress is that that's induced in people. And we can't even look in our own communities, right? We can't even see what's happening right in front of us because we're so distracted by things that are completely out of our control. So do you think that that's another piece of this message, that this is an entity beyond us and we need to take a step back?
Yes. Oh, very much so. People would benefit so much by stepping back. by taking a break, plugging back into the real world,
Mm,
real people,
yeah.
real relationships. And I'm so glad that I did. Like, I was able to clear the fog and see that the people that I engage with in real life are the most important thing, and how fake social media is. It's
Mm,
painfully fake. Like, I'll be I somehow I was my son was on TikTok, and as a parent, you just kind of lean over and you just kind of look and see what they're looking at. And I saw some stuff come up, and once you have pulled yourself away and backed off from social media, you're able to look at it with new eyes and go, that is so ridiculous. I
yeah.
can't believe that I thought that that was like normal.
Yeah.
I hope that that makes sense. So
Yeah.
when I see all these girls and guys following the trends and just copying and pasting what everybody else is doing, I just laugh because I can see how ridiculous it is. But when you're in the moment, you don't realize that you're following trends, you're copying what somebody else is doing. It's everybody just wants to keep up with that, and it's tiresome, it's
Mm,
exhausting. And
And
that's when I said, peace out.
yeah, you know and it doesn't feel right. Like,
mhm,
you know
Yeah.
it's not resonating with you, and that's
mhm.
something that I have an experience with that. So, a couple of years ago, I was also convinced by the social media person that I was working with that I needed to be on TikTok. And I'm like, "No, I'm not dancing around. I'm not gonna do the this and the this and the this, and I'm not gonna lip sync, and I'm not doing that." And she was like, "I really think it would help you. And you can share the same thing to Instagram, so don't even worry about it." I'm like, "Oh, fine." And she's like, "I will create prompts for you where I'll pull the audio, I'll give you a fill in the blank script, and I'll if there's direction on where to point or where to look or something to lip sync, I'll just write it out." So we had this Google Doc, and we tried that we did like 4 of them a month or so. And it's still on my Instagram. You can go look at it and laugh at it because it was ridiculous.
It
And
is.
I did it. I did the lip syncing, I did the
I think I
pointing.
remember that.
Yeah, it was
I think I do too.
pretty memorable because it was that bad, but could you see how uncomfortable I looked?
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt like an idiot. I really truly did because that's just like I'm a very animated person.
Mhm.
I am a dramatic person, some might say. I love theater. I love a show. The show must go on. But I want it to be on my terms. I don't want it to be
Yeah.
on what got some, like you said, 20-something-year-old person a bunch of likes and comments, because I mean, in general, that's not primarily who my customers are.
Right.
Um, and that's the other thing too. My customers are generally not hanging out on TikTok unless they're
Mhm.
watching what their kids are doing or making fun of people looking silly.
Yeah.
Um, so I played along with it for a while. Those posts did not get me anything good. They might some of
Mhm.
them might have gotten, a few thousand views, fine, but did it get me any sales? No. Did it get me any comments that were of value and that were putting something educational and valuable out into my community? No. And what I was getting was DMs like, "Don't try to be 20 something again. And my own mother's like, "Please don't ever do that again. You're terrible." So I stopped. And the social
Good.
media person I work with now, I told her flat out, I'm like, "If you want me to do an intro video every now and then, I'll do that, because that's me talking about
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
me, my experience, introducing myself. That's fine. But
Yeah.
I'm not doing the this anymore. I'm not doing that." And she's like, "You don't have to.
Plus,
I
that's
will
a
make
lot of
you."
work.
It is so much work.
It's
I
so much
actually made
work
my
to like,
teenage
Yes,
daughter do the editing because
it
I
is.
didn't have the bandwidth to
yeah.
figure all that out. Um,
You know
so
what,
now it's
Rachel? Do you
Just
remember the
don't do it.
podcast we did not that long ago? And we were talking about social media.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one it was, but do you remember how we were like basically talking about the fact that if you're spending that much time doing social media, the question then remains, how much are you actually doing in your actual job, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
what we were
Mhm.
chatting about that. And so this makes a lot of sense because like those I've never done one of those because I can't even wrap my brain around how they work. And so I've just never done anything like that. But it does seem like with that amount of work, that are you really the quality provider that that you're saying that you are, if you can spend that much time on the social media, or if you're in Puerto Rico all the time in the hot tub. I'm like, what are these people working?
But it's
So,
probably their bathtub and they just went to Michael's and got some tropical
oh,
stuff and hung it
maybe.
up like
Or
I
it's
mean,
just a green screen in the
green
back.
screen. Oh my
I
God.
mean,
Yeah, they're
Lori,
probably not even there.
do you think that that is the majority of what's going on? That a lot of the stuff that you're seeing really is lacking the actual stuff behind the scenes of actual application of being an esthetician or being in the health field? Is it, do you think that a lot of that is just fluff?
I do.
Okay.
And not, maybe I should let me back step just a second. I think for a lot of people, it is fluff.
Okay.
I do, because when you're from real life experience, I have met successful estheticians who just really don't have the time or the energy to waste on social media. And their following might be small, right? But they're making really good money. And you just can't gauge someone's followers by how much money they make. Like I'm thinking of one girl in particular, 300,000 followers. Um, Seems to have it all together, but is she really that successful in real life? I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Yeah, you can't gauge someone's success by their followers.
Well,
Is it
that's a good
fluff? I think a
message.
lot of it is fluff.
Yeah.
I do. I do.
Well, I think that's another thing that's really important for our audience to hear, because I think that, I'm 44, so I like missed the whole, like, I'm like the old school, with the big box computer, right? So a lot of this has been hard work for me, even with the little bit that I do. And I think a lot of people in this age group too, like a little bit ahead, a little bit behind, I think when they see all that, they think to themselves, man, what are these people doing? And they must be so successful. And I think more people need to hear that that's probably not a metrics to base success on. It looks like it though. It really
It looks
does, right? Dang. I'm like, oh my God, what they're doing all this great stuff. I mean, I do it too a little bit. But I think that I think it's great that you're saying this and that we can really get people to hear this. So maybe they can go, oh, I didn't realize the algorithm was in control. Some people might not even know what an algorithm is. I
Well, and
mean,
it
to be
changes
truthful.
all the
it
time.
always,
And nobody
always.
knows what the next
It's
thing
just a
is going to
game.
be that
It's
it
a game.
favors.
Yeah, it's a game and everybody's playing for free, right? And then everybody's pawns for free too, because people are outsourcing so much of their mental health into
Yeah.
these packages. Business owners, children, teens. I think that unfortunately the whole social media for women especially, and I guess maybe I'm just speaking it from women's perspectives, besides men, but they've created such an illusion. Like we used to have magazines, that we look
I
at
miss
to see like,
magazines.
well, we would look at a few magazines and we'd see some pretty people from Hollywood, but all of that's gone. We're just plastered with everybody's like, look how beautiful I am, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And this is what you're supposed to look like. And I think our young women are struggling to feel like they're doing it right because they're seeing all this and it's just not realistic. And I think, this is such a good message to talk about because I think the beauty industry has just unfortunately really taken off through the social media and put forth an idea that's unrealistic for normal people.
I
you
love
know?
that, Tara. You said that so good. And another point that I want to bring up is you could be comparing yourself to someone that has a huge social media team.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good
You
one.
are comparing
Right.
yourself to someone who has professionals who know how the algorithm works. They know how to get likes. They know the trends. They know the music. They are
Yes.
hiring somebody full time
Yeah.
because
Who would
it
know
does
that?
take
Spending
someone.
thousands of
Oh,
dollars a month on that person.
And who would know all
Rachel,
that?
it is not cheap. I've got a friend who all of a sudden I checked her account and she had gained like 30,000 followers. And I was like, I don't want to say her name. So and so, Julie, how did your Instagram blow up? How did you do that? She's like, oh, I spent a lot of money. I spent thousands of dollars to hire somebody who could do this for me full time. And that's what you're up against.
Yeah. It's not
If you're
normal.
comparing yourself, you are up against a whole social media team and they're doing it full time for that person. So remember that, keep that in perspective.
I don't
They
think a lot of
are
people know
not
that.
doing it. Their
Yeah.
I don't
team,
think a lot of people know that.
no.
Yeah, and just like, I have done paid promotions on Facebook and Instagram before.
Mhm.
I have advertised events. I've done large campaigns. I've done campaigns where I was spending, $300 a day on advertising. And did I get a little bit more targeted results than I might have with just organic posts? Maybe, but
Mm.
not terribly.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult because I was working with a social media team who said, we've been doing this for years across all these different industries. We know that if you do it this way and you put this much into your ad spend and you monitor it in this way and make these changes when you see these numbers go up and these numbers go down, it's going to work. You're going to make that money back really quickly and then you'll profit. Well, first time I did that, I broke even. Fine, great. Second time I did that, it started tanking. The numbers started tanking. I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? Oh my goodness. And they're like, just spend more. I'm like,
Ugh.
what? But it's not working. Why am I going to put more
Yeah.
money in if it's not working?
Dang.
And they said, but if once you hit a certain threshold of
Yep.
spending, it
Yep.
shifts things. I'm like, I can't risk that.
Yep.
So then I did, after that campaign, I did a whole bunch of like little testing videos just to see, okay, if I test this messaging with this audience, how will that work compared to this messaging with this audience? I would have 5 or 6 different videos that were very similar going out with similar copy, but to slightly different audiences. Just monitoring that, creating that content, shooting and editing those videos,
Oh gosh.
that was all I could do in a work day. It was such a
That's a
significant
job.
amount of work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And did it get me much better results? No. I essentially broke even again. So I put all these thousands of dollars out, and yes, it came back, but did I get to keep any of it? No.
Yeah.
So it really was a hard learning experience about that algorithm. You don't know what you're competing with. You
Yeah.
don't know what kind of support people have. Like I was still DIYing a lot of this, but I had guidance. But there are people that don't DIY it. They outsource all of it. They have essentially a director telling them exactly what to
Yes.
do and filming it and editing it for them and posting it and monitoring it and adjusting in real time.
Yes.
Me, I was checking it like once a day. That's
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
how it works. So and I have to say the algorithm is not small business friendly. It's just not.
Very well said.
It's not
Very
worth
well
it to spend money on ads unless you are a big spender. And I've heard that from so many
Yes.
people and I've experienced it myself. So I pulled
Interesting.
back. I stopped doing that. And I will also say that something else I learned is that the beauty and wellness / health industries on social media are 2 of the most competitive.
Interesting.
So the top of your budget is going to be a tiny crumb of somebody else's budget.
Yeah.
You will
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
compete with that. And I think it's
Yes.
really important that people understand that and don't place value in it.
Yes. And social media is going to be a full-time job for you.
Yeah.
So you have to decide how much energy is worth it. How much do I want to give of myself to this?
Mhm.
I'm glad that you brought that up because it reminded me for 2 years. And I feel like if you can hire it out, it's great because then you can actually work and like do things and have a life. Um, for instance, I hired out my social media for 2 years to two different people. The first year that I did it, it was such a relief to me because I was working full time in my clinic. I had 8 employees, and it was such a blessing. And I could afford $1,500 a month to spend on that. I was like,
Mhm.
this is great. All I have to do is just answer comments and messages.
Mhm.
And it worked out great until I couldn't afford it. And then I had to start doing it myself again. And then I started getting bogged down with it, wasn't able to produce the content that I wanted. So I hired a really great girl. She's phenomenal. And that cost me $600 a month. And I had to enter it all into social media. She would create the content and then I would upload it. And that got to be too expensive. So here we are, real time, back to just me, myself, and I on social
Full
media.
circle.
Yes. And I haven't done a post in probably 3 weeks.
Oh,
I'm like, you know what?
And
nice.
has the
Good for
world
you.
ended?
And nobody cares. And nobody's like, Lori, where are your posts? Because you can make up the difference in your stories.
You
If you
can.
just
Yeah.
get into your stories and do a little snapshot of a product or a little something to just keep people updated, I have found that that's kind of a way to cheat the system.
Mhm.
If you know, and to keep your sanity is do one post a week. Do what you can energetically afford. Do
Mhm.
a post a week, but show up in your stories once a day or share someone else's post or reel that is really good and would help your community. I have found that that's like the best thing to do right now is just to recycle your own work or share someone else's stories because sometimes I wonder if people even check posts. They really just see the stories
The
and,
stories and the reels,
and
and
reels get all the attention.
they do. And, something that the current person that I have helping me with my social media, and we had to strip it way back. Like, I think between the Nutritional Aesthetics Alliance's social media and my Create Your Skincare stuff, I think it's maybe $500 or $600 a month for the two businesses.
That's awesome.
And she will make the reels based on like blog content, and she'll just do it as like a video on Canva. Like, and then she just puts it on an Airtable for me and I upload it, and I like to pick the music because that's fun for me. But it's still putting out there stuff that is valuable. It's mostly recycled content, just slightly tweaked and slightly repositioned in some way, which is totally an okay thing to do. And then
Absolutely.
in my stories, I like to have fun. In my stories, you're going to see a lot of cats.
I
That's just
love that.
that's just how we roll over here. Especially now that
And
my
I,
human children have left me. All
yes.
I'm left with is my fur children and my husband, but he doesn't like to be on social media. So you're going to see a lot of cats. You'll probably see food. Maybe, if it's raining ridiculously or snowing outside. We had snow squalls the other day and I posted that. So if it's like something that's business
Yeah,
related that I happen to see, I will absolutely share that. But I like to sprinkle a little fun in there too. And
I think
those
you
fun
should.
posts are the ones that get the most engagement.
Well, then
And
it's
the,
resonating.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
People want
and
to
you.
then
see real people. They don't just want to see the glossed over, branded,
right,
curated version all the time. And I think that
right,
that's something that's really important for people to be okay with.
yes. And I love that, Rachel. I think the best thing to do is just keep it simple. I follow a girl, I think she makes great content and She filmed a video of her walking, and it was her feet, and she was just walking slow with her feet. And she put a message over the top, and I was like, are you kidding? That's all I have to do for 30,000 views? Just film my feet when I'm walking. It blows my mind how complicated we can make things.
Yeah.
Just create something, put your message on it, and send it out. And don't expect, if you lower your expectations, it'll probably do really well.
And be yourself, right? Because like, I
Be
think
yourself.
that's the part that's not happening for most people, which is the big distraction. So just be yourself. I mean, I see some of these people do beautiful photos in their treatment room, and I'm like, I feel like it looks like I'm doing work in my garage, you know? And like, and I don't know how to position the camera the best way, and I don't know how to get it to look, or how is this lighting so beautiful? I bought all the lights, and I feel like everywhere I go, I put them up and it never looks that good. And then I finally just said, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. This is like what I'm doing today. This is what I'm going to talk about, and that's it. And I never actually look at my numbers because I'm not interested in having 30,000 followers if 28,000 of them are people that don't even care about what I have to say. Like,
Well, yeah.
you know, I want to reach people. I want to share my stuff. I want people to know where I'm at. But I think I can speak for a lot of people that social media full-time or even part-time is not what we signed up for when we got into this business,
Yeah.
right? And then you feel like you have to do this whole admin work is bad enough when you own a business, right? Because that's again not part of what you really signed up for. But to add on the social media, I think this conversation's so great because I think that is really weighing on a lot of people, is feeling like they're supposed to do this social media thing, and because they can't, or they don't like it, or it doesn't resonate, that they're falling short. And I think they all need to hear is just do your thing. Do social media, don't do social media, but don't be distracted because so much of it isn't what it's showing you to be, you know? And so this is
Right.
such a great message.
And it's keeping that perspective in mind every day,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not always what it seems, and somebody can sure look beautiful
Mm-hmm.
and be rotten on the inside,
Oh yeah,
or
right.
have a rotten, unhealthy life. And it's just good to keep that in mind, that that's the reality of social media, and being selective in what you share, and also encouraging someone that who they are is enough, and what
Yeah,
you create is good enough, and don't overthink it. Just
totally.
create, make it something that you're proud of. Don't overthink it, and just put it out into the world, and the right people will find you,
Yeah,
and they will like you without a filter,
yeah.
or with the filter. Like, they will truly want to see you without a filter. I stopped using a filter on my Instagram. That was really, really hard to do because I'm very critical of my face and certain features. And all I try to do now is just find good lighting. And that's going to have to be good enough because they're seeing me for who I am. I am not perfect. And I don't want to portray that I am, because I'm not. I don't want to be false with anybody. So it's just finding good lighting, stop using the filters. And this is who I am. If you don't like it, okay.
Move
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Bye.
And
And
you
it
know,
took me
that's,
a long time to say that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's so true, because nobody is everybody's cup of tea. I am certainly
You want
not
to
for
be.
everyone, and
Yeah,
that's
there's
okay.
yeah.
And we don't, those of us who have businesses and we are choosing to put ourselves out there to, yes, be of service, yes, create community, yes, educate, but yes, also try to make a buck, because, we have families to
You have
support.
to.
Right.
We don't owe anybody more than we're willing to give that feels right to give.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good point.
totally.
And, a while ago we did an episode about, dealing with trolls. And we deal with a lot of that. There's always going to be somebody with something nasty to say. You don't owe them anything. Block, delete, hide. That's it. Without a doubt. Back in the beginning, oh gosh, like 2010, 2011, when I first started my blog and when I first started on Facebook, because I wasn't even aware of Instagram. I don't even know if it existed back then. It probably did, but I didn't know. I would attempt to respond to critics and respond to trolls to try to come out, taking the high road, showing that I'm professional, I know how to handle myself. And it was so exhausting. And
Yeah.
it stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I would rerun what I rewrote back in my head over and over again. Like, how could I have said that differently? And it really took too much of a toll on me than it
Yeah.
was ever going to be worth.
Totally.
So I just said, you know what? No more. If you're going to leave me a nasty comment, I'm not going to publish it. If you're going to send me a DM and it's nasty, delete. If you send me an email that's nasty, delete. I don't owe anybody that engagement.
Right. That's right.
And
That's
nobody
so
does.
good,
And I want
so
these
wise.
young new professionals who are coming out there and being brave and taking those steps to know that you do not owe anyone anything.
That's right. That's so good. I had to learn that too. And it's such a freeing belief that I really don't owe them anything. And it's okay if I don't respond back. And I've also learned to have a little bit of compassion for them because I don't know what's going on their end. I just know that they're super bored and they don't have anything else better to do. And yeah, you get better at that. You do. I think it comes with time. It really hurts the first time.
It does.
Like, it just cuts because you want everybody to like you.
And you've worked hard and you've really
worked so
tried to
hard.
put something out there that's meaningful. And then to
Yeah.
have somebody just cut it down with one
Right.
nasty comment,
Yeah.
it's hard to not take that personally.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I do
Well,
think
that-
don't
that
you
goes-
think it gets easier and better too? It just gets easier.
Well, that's kind of what goes back to what I was saying before, where like we weren't supposed to be, in front of 30,000
Right.
people to criticize us, right? Like naturally in nature, you're on your cutie and you can face people, right? And then our human psyches have now gotten involved in being exposed to the world by the internet. And now we have all these eyeballs that have and mouths that can say things about us. That's probably not something that humans have ever really faced in this kind of way, unless you were uniquely famous or obviously, but that's a very small sect of society. But it's put us all in that position. And then, but most of us don't really have the skills, especially in the beginning, to handle that. And what an energetic suck it is, like to feel the criticism and then feel like you want to respond, right? Because you want to say something, you want to defend yourself, and you want to, like you said, be professional. But we're not supposed to entertain 30,000 critics or 10,000 critics. Like, we're not supposed to do that. Like, that's not normal. And so we're in this is a very abnormal place for us to be for the first time in history, where we're subjected to this much criticism as normal people, And so I think this is such a great message to remind people of, because they need to hear it, they really do.
Absolutely.
And
Well,
it's okay to take, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, please, Lori, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's okay to take a social media fast.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I love
Why don't we
this.
just fast a little bit from social media?
Yeah,
Because you start to clear your head. And it's okay to unfollow a lot of people and be very picky with who you do follow. I've learned that I cut it way down just because I know myself, and I start to compare myself to other professionals and like, oh, that's not good for my mental health.
Yep.
So
during
unfollow.
COVID,
Very,
I did that myself, and I was self-directed. Like, I'm glad you're saying it because then people
yeah.
can hear it in our audience. But when COVID happened, that I was mostly on Facebook at the time, and I deleted the app. I was like, I don't want to hear all this again. It was like causing me such distress. And I was like, I just need to focus on my family. And that was such a huge learning experience for me. I've never really gotten back on like my business through Instagram posts through. And then that's when I started really getting on Instagram, but I was much more particular about who I like, what was in my feed, right? What I want to see. I want to be in there for business. So that's really mostly what I focus on.
Mhm.
But I've even in my practice, and maybe you guys have both experienced this too with clients when you're talking to them and they're talking about stressors and things like that. This is such a great piece to add in. Take a fast, because that world can create such toxic mentality on people that we as practitioners are in a place where we can bring that to their attention and say, look, maybe you need to take a break from the social media or clean up and remove things that you don't want to see. It's okay to unfollow. It's okay not to see that. If it's causing you distress, I tell my clients sometimes, stop watching the news, please, because you're stressing about things that you cannot control. And at the same time, it's making you unwell. And so I think that's another great piece of the message is social media fasting. That's the new thing. We're gonna
Well,
move that. We're
and
gonna make
and
it
if
popular.
influencers are allowed to curate their own content, then we, as the consumers of that, are certainly allowed to curate what we want to see,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
right.
right?
And it's just like what's in your fridge. When you open up the fridge, you want it to be healthy, good foods that you can choose to eat whenever you want.
So great.
And you have
Yeah.
to do it with social media. Every time you open the app, you want it to be people that inspire you, that like content that's funny or happy. Every time you open that app, every
Love
time you
it.
open the fridge, make it stuff that is healthy and good for you.
Great
Throw
analogy.
away the stuff that's
Yeah.
and seed oils and
Yes, that's a
sugar.
great analogy. That's such a great analogy. I think
That's
that
so
people can
good.
really see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my
totally.
goodness. Well, I think that is the perfect way to wrap this conversation up. Lori, I want to thank you so much for coming and being with us and being so vulnerable and open. I think so
Mm,
many people are going to benefit from just everything that you shared today and your openness and honesty about this topic. And that's what we do here. We love to keep it real. We love to keep it open and honest. And thank you again so much.
yeah,
So, Lori,
definitely.
if people do want to connect with you on Instagram or on your website, where can they find you?
They can find me at LW Skincare. It's the same on all the platforms.
Perfect. Well, that makes it easy.
Great.
Very easy.
And if you want to find more from us, you can go to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/nutritional aesthetics. You can go to our website, skinwellnesspro.com. And if you go to the blog, you can find our past podcast episodes. We have the videos there. We have the downloadable file of the audio, or you can just listen there. We also usually have show notes, a summary, more information. If you're more of a reader than a viewer or a listener, we like to give you the content multiple platforms. And we are also on Instagram at Nutritional Aesthetics. And while you are engaging with our podcast, we would so appreciate if you would give us a rating. If you would like us, follow us, share us with anybody you feel would benefit from what we do here. And we will see you with a new episode very soon. So thank you all for watching or listening, and have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.